Creating from the Heart, the Artistry of Living. I'm Suzy Vance, and I'm here with John Ryszka.
Hello. Wonderful to be here.
So, John, how did you get... John is a glassmaker. He's just a wonderful artist. That's only one of the things he does. So let's talk about that for a minute. How did you get into glassmaking?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be an artist of some sort. The earliest memory I've got is of me sitting at my grandmother's kitchen table with a big fat orange crayon in my hand, drawing this very crude eye, and then looking across the kitchen table at my uncle, who was coloring in this Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner coloring book, and he had these smooth color gradients across the image. And I remember very distinctly just looking at my work and then looking at his and feeling just irritated and envious about how amazing his work, and feeling like mine was inadequate. And this is probably like 5 or 6 years old. But it still stands out very clearly, and that's one of my earliest memories, and also earliest memories of wanting to be an artist and knowing that, I wanted to do that. And so I went to college for graphic art and design, and I thought I wanted to do advertising and work with computers and do that because I thought it would be a lot of fast-paced, create.
Far cry from where you ended up, yes.
And thankfully, I went and tried to apply to, I think it was a sculpture class, but I don't remember specifically. But I know that I couldn't get into the class. It was already filled. My counselor said that they had already put more people in it than were allowed, and so there was just no way. So he recommended I take a scientific and decorative glassblowing class because I was also interested in science and whatnot. And I said, I don't really think that's me. Maybe we should think about something else. And I took the course curriculum catalog home and looked through it, and I didn't find anything that was still available and that sounded interesting and in line with my degree.
Except this that you were stuck with.
So I took his suggestion and went with the scientific and decorative glassblowing. And immediately I fell in love with the material. It just made sense, the way the heat slowly migrates through the material, and it's the ability to selectively manipulate just small portions. I really, really enjoyed that. And thankfully as well, I was working for the school in their catering department as their student manager, and I was assigned to go set up a gallery exhibit that had an artist who had these plexiglass or fiberglass houses that he had made. They were probably around 3 feet tall, and they had neon tubes that wove in and out of the structures. And in addition to that, he had created these other animated neon pieces as well. He had an entire wall of fish. There was probably 20 across and 10 high, and he had them where a computer would illuminate them in sequence, so they would swim back and forth, or they would rain down and do all of these different things. But that exhibit was so powerful to me. I really appreciated both the imagery that he had created, for one, was just well done and well crafted, but then the auras that were cast upon the walls. When you went in, there were these deep blue and purple corners of the gallery space, and you could walk over into the warmer areas, and they created these very palpable experiences that you could engage with. And I just loved the body of work that he had created and was very inspired. And then he gave a guest lecture at the college. And so I sculpted out some time, went and saw his lecture, and it was like he was speaking directly to me. Everything that he said really spoke to me. And I decided right then that, it was another one of those moments where you just have to listen to the little voice.
Thank you.
And to pursue that.
To say yes.
Yeah. And I did. So I finished out that year and then looked for schools that were nationally accredited, college accredited in the United States for neon programs. There were only 3 in the United States, one in Florida, one in New Jersey, and one in California. California had the best weather for me, so I decided that I would go to Benicia, California, to the National Neon Institute.
Ooh.
And I did that. And it was another one of those serendipitous moments where I got to do neon signs by day. And I worked for a coffee shop in the afternoons and evenings to earn some money. And as I was walking to and fro, I smoked cigarettes at that time. I don't smoke, kids. But a gentleman who was on his porch just a couple of doors down from the school asked me for a cigarette, and I gave him one. And next thing you know, I'm in his studio, and the Zoogs in Benicia, California, invited me in to start doing fused glass with them. And so they created fused glass architectural tiles for bathroom fixtures and surrounds and kitchen safe counters and things.
This is really synchronous. I mean, he just called you in on his porch?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
And then from there, I started to hang out with them. And Benicia, California also has 3 glass blowing studios. And all 3 of them would allow you to come in and sit and watch and ask questions if you want.
Ooh.
And I was able to do that
That's
as
like
well.
another education.
Absolutely. And it very much felt like I had fallen into exactly what I was supposed to be doing, because unknown to myself, just by happenstance, I wound up being in this environment that had so much diversity in glass work. And I got not only paid for the education that I received, but also was able to get free education from being friends and willing to learn. And then that led to a neon job in Phoenix, Arizona.
A neon job in Phoenix, Arizona. And then what? How did you get here in Michigan City, Indiana?
Well, I started out in Michigan City. That's where I was born and raised.
There you go.
So I started out in Michigan City, went to Benicia, California, and then went to Phoenix, Arizona. And from there, wound up getting even more of a glass education. And when my wife and I had our 2 children, we decided that it was time for us to kind of come back and be with grandparents that could grow up with grandchildren while that kind of overlapped. And to just be kind of caregivers as well to aging parents, and to kind of give back as well, because while we were in Phoenix, Arizona, originally when we first got there, anytime we would hear about Michigan City, it was always in reference to the casino boat or the Lighthouse Mall.
Oh.
So for the first number of years, that's all we would hear about Michigan City. But in the year to 2 years right before we moved back, we started hearing about Michigan City having an art scene and being the art little space on the south coast of Lake Michigan. And we did a little, we were still coming back. And by that point, I had quit my neon job and was a full-time art glass artist, had multiple galleries in Arizona that were carrying my work. And we would come back to Michigan City, use it as a hub. And then I would go out and do art festivals throughout the summer.
Right.
And that worked out really well. And we got to see how Michigan City had the Art Space building.
Right.
Which, for those of you who don't know, it's a residence that allows artists of all stripes to come and live and create in this space. And there's multiple benefits. So if you're an artist, then you need a place to go. Check it out. But not only
there
that...
is a waiting list.
Oh, Suzy knows. Then there were all of the different galleries that were in Michigan City or the very nearby communities. And so my wife and I decided to sell our home in Phoenix and to look for a place that we could have a home and a gallery of our own with a glass studio attached. And that's exactly what we found.
Which is?
The Rising Phoenix Gallery here in Michigan City on Franklin Street at 2817 Franklin Street.
And it just opened for the season on March 1st.
We currently have an exhibit titled A Machine Ballet by Jaber DeBeja. It was a wonderful exhibit opening. Please feel free to check out any of the information on our Instagram, which is the Rising Phoenix Gallery. And there were video and live music, and the artists themselves were dressed up in this full white suit with the white robot's helmet with illumination and all of that. And then the artwork was all over the walls, and it was a wonderful experience.
It is.
But the gallery, when we were in Phoenix, I got started first as the neon vendor and then transitioned into becoming a full-time artist.
Yeah.
But to do so, I had to approach all of these different art galleries in Arizona and in the Phoenix area. And some of the first ones that I got into, I didn't realize how they were managing to make their money. And it wasn't by selling artwork. It was selling space to artists. And the one that was the most egregious to me personally, I don't remember the name of it, but they charged an application fee. So just coming and picking up the application cost like $5. And then when you turned it in, it was another $5 for a jury fee.
This is so you could get in to show your stuff?
Just to get my work into the first gallery. And then there was wall hanging fees. So every month you had to pay a fee just to have your work in the space.
On the wall.
And then they took a commission if they were able to sell anything. And
Did you make any money?
I did.
Good.
But not nearly as much as I would have liked. But it was a great way to start the resume and to get the ball rolling. But when we moved back to Michigan City, I knew that was a serious stumbling block for early artists. And I did not want to present stumbling blocks to artists. I wanted to create an avenue that was easy for artists to travel down and to give them the opportunity to grow and to show their work and to make these connections. And what we decided then was to model our gallery kind of off of one of the galleries in Arizona that still carries my work called Practical Art in Phoenix, right on Central, just north of Camelback. But they've got a wonderful model where they don't charge you anything. They only take a commission if they're able to make a sale. And so that's what we've done.
So they have an interest in selling your work.
Very much.
What a concept.
Yeah, and that's very much the model we wanted to do. And we do a variety of show options as well. So we've got calls to artists, so that's anybody and everybody can be a part of that. If you're a fledgling artist who's just getting started and trying to build a portfolio, you can submit your work to us. We'll show your work free of charge, put it on the walls, and then we'll do our best to sell the work. And well-seasoned artists such as yourself can take part in those as well, and continue to grow your portfolio and have further avenues for sales. But then artists such as yourself can also inquire about complete exhibit opportunities where you can take over the entire exhibit space and do a full body of work versus being part of a theme.
Right.
And we have found that that's been so rewarding for us. One, because we've made a lot of wonderful connections with different artists that, we've not met a single artist in the community who's been a jerk. Everybody's been amazing and so talented, which is such a wonderful experience because, we have encountered those things in our lives, the negative things. But Michigan City has been so rewarding because we've been welcomed back. It's nice to be a big fish in a little pond compared to Phoenix, and to see artists grow. There's a few who've come in, and now after being here for a number of years, I can easily recognize the people who are coming in to just kind of peruse the exhibits and the artists who are coming in for the first time and trying to make that connection. And there's one gentleman in particular who really stands out in my mind, who came in, kind of looked around, but very much was like looking more at the floor and his hands and not really looking at what was on the wall, but kind of moving through the space. And eventually got enough courage to speak to me, took part in the exhibit, and was able to sell one of his works in his very first exhibit. Actually, he sold two of his prints that opening weekend. And there were professional artists who were in the exact same exhibit that were unable to sell anything through that exhibit. And he sold two opening night and has come back to us a couple of times and has sold things every time. And now is showing his work in other galleries around the southern Lake Michigan area here in the region. And to see the growth for artists as well that we have been able to help facilitate has been so rewarding. And I personally feel as though I want to lean more heavily into that aspect of just being a helper to the community. I've also been able to be a part of the Michigan City Art Committee, which is now I'm a very, very minor government official that doesn't get paid or anything like that. But I do get to help put pick sculptures that go onto the city streets.
Nice.
And to promote that, which gives me another opportunity to promote artists and to make Michigan City a more beautiful art-related little mecca, if you will, for people to come and explore and be tourists and see not only our beach and our casino and our lighthouse mall and now our national lakeshore, but also all of the thriving art that is here, and to make this a much more special place for the community and for the greater world as a whole who's interested in art.
It's fabulous. I love the fact that you are here. It's such a treasure. Truly. Thank you very much. This is great.
My pleasure.
Would you like to share some of the things that you brought?
Oh, yes. I've got two things that I made last night that just came out of the kiln this morning, and one bigger one that I brought just because it's a little bit different from the others. So this one is a glass mask. I had a request to do a couple of portraits for a woman of her children for Christmas presents this year in 2023. And this was one of them that I made. The colors turned out a little bit darker than I really wanted. And so this one didn't go out the door. Instead, it's now on the walls in the gallery right now. And this one's called The Moviegoer, for those of you who want to come in and are interested in seeing it in person or look at it on the website. But I've actually just recently created a second edition of my book, Visage of Glass, which is a collection of the masks and faces that I've done over the last 20 years of being a full-time glass artist. And yeah, that's now available in the gallery and on Amazon and whatnot. And the very first big art award I ever did, I competed in a glass blowing competition at the Rialto Theater in Tucson, Arizona. And they had international artists from around the world. There was a team of Japanese glass blowers. If you're not familiar with Japanese glass blowing, you should check it out. They're amazing. But a gentleman by the name of Lewis Wilson, who was not exactly a mentor to me, but definitely helped push me into growing in ways that I felt very uncomfortable. He and I were both at an art festival together. Our booths to show our work were kind of catty-corner to each other. And over the weekend, we kept going back and forth and talking to each other. And by the end of the weekend, he had called up the Sonoran Glass School and handed the phone to me and said, "Here, Alex," was the woman's name, "talk to John. He needs to be a part of this glass blowing battle, or the flame off is what it's called. And you should look at it, get his information and compete." And the whole weekend I was telling him, no, I'm too new. I don't have the courage even to do it. But thankfully he pushed me, and I got second place my very first competition, and I've won a first place since then. And it's doing work like this.
Great. What else? What other goodies do you have
Now,
to show?
last night I was building work for, I'm also the glass artist for Indiana Beach Amusement and Water Park. So if you like roller coasters and amusement parks, come out to Indiana Beach in Monticello, have some fun. But I started making little fish life sea sculptures. And this one's got a little tiny stingray here, and a sea anemone, and a big old lobster, and some seaweed and whatnot. And I just really enjoyed making, this is probably the 10th one this week that I've made. A lot of them are bigger. This one was a real quick, small one. But I loved the outside decoration. And next week, 2 weeks from now, I'll be in Indianapolis doing the Indianapolis Comic Book Convention. And those are my people. On my personal life, I am very much a comic book and Dungeons and Dragons and all of that kind of little nerd person. So I did this, and then knew because of the convention, I wanted to do something that was Dungeons and Dragons inspired. because I also am a paid dungeon master. So I run Dungeons and Dragons games for people online, and they pay me. And this is a iconic monster called the Beholder. It's a monster that has all of these eyes, and it's a big bad monster from the game of Dungeons and Dragons. And I sold out on all of these that I had created last year when I was down at Indiana Beach and at some of the conventions that I do. And so I decided that I really liked the sea life base, and I wanted to create something that was just more dorky. And I wanted to play, and so I did. And this was what I created, and that's last night. And that's all that I brought for show and tell. I also do a lot of things like marbles with the universe inside, with planets and spaceships from pop culture,
and where you
things
have
like
to
that.
search a little bit to find your true self inside.
Yeah, one of my absolute best-selling product lines is a series of paperweights and marbles that are filled with the shiny dichroic glass that catches all the light and sparkles. And I like to swirl that so it becomes this visual cacophony of distractions. And then beyond all of the shiny distractions, I'll hide a very simple black and white peace symbol. So the 1960s, arms down peace symbol that you think of is hidden somewhere in the background. And the metaphor with this series is that if you can just avoid getting caught up in all the shiny distractions and you're willing to change your perspective, then eventually an inner peace can be found. And it's just a little bit of a meditative tool to get people to slow down and to stop thinking about whatever problems they have going on in their lives.
Or whatever projects they're working on, because they should just be peaceful for a minute.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we can stress ourselves out and give ourselves ulcers and high blood pressure just by thinking too deeply about the things that stress us out.
That's right.
But if we calm down and focus on something fun.
Take one of those and you'll survive the political season.
Well, let's not even go there.
No.
That's too scary at the moment.
So thank you so much. This has been so much fun. And I hope you'll all check out the Rising Phoenix Gallery. And who knows, maybe John Ryszka will be there when you are, and he can share a few more stories. Creating from the heart, the artistry of living. See you next time.